Hi folks, how you doing? Well, let's move on to the guys. There was a case in Texas where a man was going through divorce. I think his woman filed for divorce. Of course, she got him for a ton of money, got half the stuff, a whole 9 yards. I think they had 4 children. It might have been 3, but I think they had 4 children. So they go through the divorce, and this guy is paying heavy alimony, like several $100 a piece per child. He had a decent job, I guess, but it pretty much was making him, poverty-stricken. It's these stories you hear about, And she got the house, got half of in cash, but she pretty much raked him into divorce as usual. The courts have to rake him into divorce, which is not unusual at all. The divorce guys knows about this, knows the sentence on a regular basis. So, for some reason, 2 or 3 years later, he's paying these heavy alimony fees, and child support and lots of child support. For some reason, he decided to have the paternity of his children checked. Maybe he found out their blood types and realized it didn't match his or whatever, but he found out through actual genetic testing that 3 out of the 4 children were not his. He'd been married to this woman for like 15 years, something like that. So he says, well, that's not good. So him and his lawyer, go to the court, and they petition the court to end the child support payments. Now, some of you, I'd ask you, what do you guys think happened? Well, you're saying, as a friend of mine recently said when I talked to about this case, well, the court refunded all his money? I said, oh, really? You think that's what happened, huh? Yeah, the court refunded all his child support payments because it's not even his kids. He said, no, guess again. Well, what happened was the court did not refund his child support payments. In fact, the court said, you're going to keep paying those child support payments till those kids are 18 or 20 or whatever it is. You keep paying those payments. You owe that money to your ex-wife. You see, the courts in this country have a little idea that for the benefit of the children, that for the good of the children, any children that are born into a couple when they're married, they're the man's responsibility whether they're his or not. And to this day, he's still paying several $100 a month per child. Turns out, by the way, just as an aside, it's kind of interesting too, part of the story, turns out his wife had been banging some guy that she knew before she met him. She'd been having sex with this guy before they were married, when they were engaged, and all through their marriage. This had been going on the entire time, and she knew these kids weren't his. I told this in another video in that series about how to attract women, and I'll say it again. In England, they did a long, very, very long, expensive, long-term study on women in England and childbirth. They found that in married couples, fully 40% of the children did not belong to the husband. The woman had affairs and she had had children that were not his. 40%. The other really disturbing thing about that study I found really disturbing was they actually tested these women on a regular basis. The women didn't know what this was all about, by the way. They tested these women's fertility over a long period of time. And they also asked them, private questions. It was all kept private about their affairs they were having on their husbands and things. Some of them weren't having affairs, but they tested these women's fertility. These women didn't know when they were at their highest level of fertility. They didn't know, that this was the 4 or 5 days a month when they were most fertile. But the scientists did, and they matched that to when the women would have sex with their husband or their boyfriend, the men they were cheating with. And what they found out was very interesting. During these women's highest fertile time, when the women had no idea that was their highest time, they were clueless about this. They would refuse sex to their husbands, but go have sex with the men they were cheating with. Instinctively, they would do this. Instinctively, this is what they would do. This was just a standard thing that came out in this study. That's a pretty scary thing. Now, I'm just putting this out there for you guys. You want to probably in the channel why I don't recommend marriage for men. I don't recommend it for women either. I think it ruins women's fun in relationships too. I want to make a video called Insecurity, the Wisdom of Insecurity, about this. But the fact of the matter is, if there's any other better reason not to get married, that's one of them right there. And that's also a good clue of how the courts in this country are completely against men when it comes to divorce. You hear that a lot. Well, there's an example which can't be denied. That business of him having to be a guy paying child support for children who he didn't father in a marriage, that's been repeated again and again. That is standard operating procedure in the courts. It's for the benefit of the child. The best for the child is what's important. They don't go after the other guy for the child support. They go after the ex-husband, and they make him pay it, or they put him in jail. Anyway, just a thought, guys. Think about it. Think carefully about it. And for you feminists out there who claim that men's rights is just a bunch of bullshit, and the movement's just a bunch about hating women, it's not. It's about men being treated fairly by the courts. I have no problem with women in general, but the idea of feminism, getting special privileges for women, and the idea of the government, combined with the government doing things like that, that is hideous and wrong. That's all it is. She cheats, you pay. How would women feel if a man who was married to a woman cheated on her with another woman, and that woman had children, and then the husband and wife got a divorce, and the court said, you have to pay child support for those children your husband fathered? How would they feel about that? It would never happen in this country. And if it did, there would be such an insane uproar, you'd never hear the end of it, for heaven's sake. There'd be special constitutional amendments passed to put a stop to that. I'm not saying all women are evil or anything like that, not at all. But the courts are going to do that. They are going to do that. Just the way it is. I am saying government's evil. Well, that's it. Enough of this video. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed Sex with Kel. Hope you come back for more Sex with Kel. And if you have any questions about love, relationships, or sex, I'm a walking sexual encyclopedia. Please write. If you're a woman or a man. If you're a woman and you want to have a man's point of view on things and get an inside track how men think, write me. Ask me a question. I'll tell you the honest truth. And subscribe while you're here, please. And tell your friends to subscribe and share on Facebook and Twitter and Twitter and whatever else is out there. I don't know what's out there. But share it if you would. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you later.